the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution from Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Happy New Year.
Yay. All right, it's coming.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's today, actually. It's today.
Yeah. I used to go to a church, an old drive-in movie. You know, they make drive-in movies, and they turn into a church later on. And it was going fine until I found out they did all the baptisms at the car wash. See, the one led me right into the other.
Yes,
all right, go right ahead.
So. That's all right. With producer Blake Tempus. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Rodney Dangerfield Rueber there. And this is the Jesup News for January 1st, 2024. Again, Happy New Year. We talk about winners and losers. We talk about the tragic death over 30 years ago of the great Hank Gathers. We talk about the Steve Brown Arts Center's successes in 2023 and our plans for 2024. We support one of our great supporters, the Steve Brown Arts Center supporters, Donnie Jacobson and Jacobson Fabrication and Repair. We look at the top stories in Jesup and we discuss service and art. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. The long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for a contribution of labor and maintenance of the buildings and the grounds. We have a special announcement tonight as well. So let's get right to it. Dale, who's your winners for the week?
Okay. Well, my winner is a man named Joe Flacco. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe 18 years ago, 19 years ago, 20 years ago. He was quarterbacking for, I think, Delaware, and they came to UNI. I think it was a playoff kind of situation, and my son and I went to see him play, and then he got drafted into the NFL and won the Super Bowl, was MVP and won the Super Bowl, and then played several years, but he's been out of football. I think this is his first year out of football. His agent sent a letter out to 16 teams. Nobody was interested, so he's sitting at home, and then Cleveland calls him out of the blue and says, we need a quarterback. So he goes, and he's now 4-1 now with his record. And I saw him play this past week and just looked fabulous. He's putting that ball in small little windows and just throwing great. And I think he's 38 years old now, they said. So I was very impressed with Joe Flacco and how he's just, I love those kind of stories where, they just pick some guy off the street and he saves the day for them. So Cleveland's looking really good now. So anyway, he is my winner of the week, and I'm sure he appreciates my recognizing his accomplishments.
That's a good one.
Did really well.
That's a good one. My winners of the week are women's sports in general. It's been a great year for women's sports. From Brittany Griner being released from Russia, she came back and starred in the WNBA this year. As we talked about 2 weeks ago, the Spanish winning the Federation of International Football Association's World Cup, the women, and them going through that. Of course, Caitlin Clark and the Iowa women's basketball. And then Simone Biles is coming back after 2 years out of gymnastics.
And she had the Women's Athlete of the Year award.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark came in second for that. Just saw that the other day.
Yeah, it is. It's been a great year for women's sports in our country, which to our country's credit, we are changing.
Yeah. Did you feel like when you were coaching girls basketball in high school and there was the boys basketball, did you ever feel slighted or that your program wasn't given the respect of the boys program, or when you were doing that? Or
it you have to remember when I first came, we were playing 6-on-6, so we were a special game in itself, and 6-on-6 basketball was pretty big. There were years when, and very few years, boys basketball is always big and has always been big at Jesup. But there were a few years when we were good and the boys weren't so good, where the crowds would come early to watch us and then leave. And then, but most of those years, the boys collected the crowd, and we lived off of them. I never felt slighted. Larry Baldwin and I always made sure that we were well respected and showed us respect, and his boys showed respect for the girls. The administration, Dennis Rickless, did not, who was the athletic director most of the time when I was head coach, probably didn't receive the credit that he deserved as an athletic director at our school. He was given the time to make sports big by Mr. Crum.
Yeah.
And Dennis worked real hard at that. Maybe it was because Dennis coached girls track.
Yeah, I was going to say he's had a lot of experience working with girls sports, as I recall, when he was coaching.
And so because of that, I always thought that we were always given fairness.
Yeah.
And so
I remember, you remember the White girl, Jennifer and Amanda White played basketball, and I know their parents were upset always that the crowd would start coming towards the end of the girls' game, and then we're not there for the girls' game, we're just there for the boys' game. And so they always made a point of, and they just had the two daughters, so when the girls' game was over, they got up and they walked out. They never stayed for the boys' game, and they did it on purpose. That was their way of making a point. And I can tell they both have died, and so I don't feel bad about using their names, but they wanted to make a point that you should be here for both of them,
Right.
That
I always felt, and I still feel this way, although very few conferences do this. I don't think any high school conferences do this. The conference that Grinnell College plays in does this. Every year they change, and the women will play first, and then the men will play second. Or this year, the men play first and the women play second.
Sure.
And the reason I know this, there's a couple of reasons. I'm a big supporter of the Grinnell system, but also former Jesup athlete, Jesup basketball player Dana Kester. She's now Dana Harold, married former principal at Jesup, Mike Harold's son Clay.
Okay.
And he's a principal down in Grinnell, and she is the head women's coach down there.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
And they are having they've started out guns blazing this year. I believe they're 6-2, 7-2 right now.
Yeah.
And 4-1 in that conference. And the Grinnell men are 9-1 right now.
Yeah.
So it is.
That's the high school, right?
No, that's college.
Oh, the college.
That's
okay.
college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's the college head coach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a college head coach.
Well, she was a heck of a player, as I recall. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
She was. Overcame the coaching. Is what she did.
Well, there's a lot of that had to happen. Yeah. So
it happens. Yeah. Anyhow, those are my winners for the year. My loser, I'll start, is the environment. I live close to the river. Thank goodness we got rain all day yesterday. We needed water in the river, and the river is still low. Very few creeks in our county or in our area have water. I believe Lime Creek out south of town has water, but that's spring fed.
yeah.
The creeks down around my house are empty, been empty for at least 2 years now. And if the environment doesn't change, we're in for a lot of death. Fish on the rivers.
Yeah, see, I wonder about fish kill if it ices over and that water is low. There'll be a lot of fish kill, and so it could be very disastrous winter if that ice comes like it always does, and so. Though they said it was the warmest Christmas day ever in Minneapolis.
Yeah. And
Duluth, Minnesota has no snow, which never, they always have tons of snow, and so. Things are changing. It's a different world, and
I fished on Christmas Eve the first time in my life this year.
Yeah.
I went. I'm a bad fisherman, so I didn't catch fish. But as I came to town tonight, there was a man fishing from the bridge, and I saw him the other day. And he had caught a number of smallmouth and walleye and northern from the bridge.
That's nice, yeah.
Like you said, the water is open. The minute it freezes, I'm afraid that we're going to have a big kill.
Yeah. No, I was walking into the house from the garage, and I was looking at my grass. This was just yesterday. And I thought, gee, I could get the lawnmower out and mulch up these leaves that are there, because usually by this time, whatever's left over is covered up with snow, and it would have been very easy to do that.
Who's your loser?
Well, my loser is I have family visiting from Michigan, and they don't have much politically going on right now. So the commercials, Republican candidates are on our TV quite often, so they've seen some of those, and you don't really notice it until you get outside eyes, but they're really getting nasty, and these are people that are carving each other up pretty bad, and so I don't think it's not good for the Republican Party, but it's not good for the country in general to have someone run for office and just get carved up to pieces time after time on all these commercials, and it takes a lot to go through all that without losing something here, I would think. And so I really think when they get nasty like this, I think we all are losers. I think they're not talking about issues or anything. They're just talking about something that somebody said 25 years ago, and they're leaving out parts of it to make it look worse than it really is, that's not honest. And so they're my losers anyways, these nasty commercials. I don't think they're necessary, and I don't.
Well, with that said, one of the first things the next thing we'd like to talk about tonight is the famous Hank Gathers. There was a wonderful 30 on 30 on ESPN called The Guru of Go. I don't know if you remember that. It was about Paul Westhead at Loyola Marymount. He was also the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I was saying, he coached pro, I know. Yeah, okay.
He's one of the few. He won an NBA championship with men and a WNBA championship with women.
Oh, okay.
He also coached a women's team to the NCAA playoffs, and he coached a men's team to the NCAA playoffs. When he was at Loyola Marymount, he had an incredible team back in it would have been 1987, 88, 88, 89, and 89, 90.
Okay.
And on that team was a man named Bo Kimball from Philadelphia and Hank Gathers from Philadelphia. And they had both went to USC and hated every minute of it at USC. And they turned around and transferred over to Loyola Marymount, which is located out in that area, not far from USC. Basically promised them they could do whatever they wanted on the floor.
Yeah.
They were incredible players at USC, and he knew how good they were. I mean, Westhead was a great coach, and they averaged in the NCAA tournament 129 points back in that time period, which that was way ahead of the game.
Oh, sure.
That was way ahead of the game with Loyola Marymount, and they beat LSU with Shaq with Shaquille O'Neal on that team. Scored 138 against them. They beat Michigan. Glenn Rice was out that night, but they scored 149, and Steve Fisher said, we got to keep it under 120, 130. And they scored 149 against them. And, you know, they were incredible, but the stories of tragedy inside of it, in March, they were playing in, it was the same conference as Gonzaga and Portland State and Loyola Marymount, and they were in the semifinals. It was a Saturday, and it was the first semifinal started at 5 o'clock, and Loyola Marymount by 5:14 was up 22-11. I mean, within 14 minutes of the natural clock was up by 11, and there was a lob to Hank Gathers from behind the half-court line. Gathers caught it in just an incredible lob that was remarkable for what Paul Westhead did anyhow. Well, he ran back, and they pressed a lot, and ran back to a spot on the press and turned around and fell to the floor. Players from both sides raced to him. I mean, because when he fell, this 220-pound man fell without reaching out to stop himself. Yeah. I mean, he fell just thud. And a crowd of 4,000 people there, it was like cement had dropped. He had 2 weeks before, he had fallen, had an arrhythmia, and they were weaning him off the medicine, and there was an argument. One doctor came out shortly after the event and said, well, we told him not to play, and Loyola Marymount produced a document that said he was released to play.
Yeah.
And, well, when he went down, there's pictures of him trying to get up. He said, I want to lay here. And you can see the panic on his face. Well, he couldn't get up, and he fell back. Within 10 minutes, they were giving CPR to him, and they had him on a cot and rushed him off the floor, and he died.
Yeah.
I had a friend that coached on the NAIA level out there that was there that night, and said one of the hardest things he'd ever seen.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And within they said they'd be out the teams would be out of the locker room in 10 minutes, and they didn't come out, and then they said a half hour, and they didn't come out, and then the commissioner of the league canceled that game and the next game, and then they gave the automatic bid to Loyola Marymount to the NCAA tournament, and the team was flying to Philadelphia for Hank's funeral when they found out they were the 11th seed, and they played New Mexico State, and they beat New Mexico State fairly handily. The 5 seed, and New Mexico State had beat them during the regular season. But a neat thing, Bo Kimball, Hank was incredible at shooting outside, inside. His junior year, one of the few guys to ever lead the nation in scoring with 32 points, and the nation in rebounding with 14 rebounds.
Yeah.
So when Kimball shot his first shot, because Hank was bad at free throws, and so what he did was, in order to put a touch on his free throw, he shot right-handed and everything. He was right-handed, but he changed and shot his free throw with his left hand to put a touch on his free throw, and became a 60% free throw shooter, which isn't that good for a college player, but still. And so Kimball, every tournament game that year that Hank died, shot his first free throw left-handed.
Left-handed.
They beat New Mexico State. Then they had to go to oh my gosh, I believe they went to had to play Arizona, or not Arizona, but Michigan. Then they played somebody that slowed it down. West had always said that people couldn't turn down a 3-on-1, and this team turned down 3-on-1s and held Loyola Marymount under 30 points first half, and ended up getting beat 62-60 by Loyola Marymount. Then they lost the next round, the fourth game, which would have been the Elite Eight of the that would have been the game to go to the Final Four.
Yeah.
But back to Hank, there was a lawsuit, and when Hank died, he had a 6-year-old son, and his son shooting someone in his young life, and didn't kill him though. He basically wasted the $1.5 million that was given to his family in his life. His son talked about when Kobe died. At the same time Kobe died, they erected a statue of his father at Loyola Marymount. Mm-hmm. And he found out that Kobe died, and he cried for 3 days straight. And he couldn't understand why he cried for 3 days straight. And he finally realized, he wasn't crying for Kobe, he was crying for his dad.
Yeah.
He didn't realize the emotion that he had, at 6 years old. Yeah. But if you get a chance to look up and read about Hank Gathers, do that. And if you get a chance to see The Guru of Go, it's out there. It's a wonderful documentary. You can find it on YouTube about that season and the death of Hank Gathers.
Yes.
Do you remember that, Dale?
I remember the name Hank Gathers, and I remember that he died, but I didn't remember what team he played for or the how it happened and everything. But right. The name was familiar to me. But a lot of those things happen on the West Coast. Yeah. You don't really pay a lot of attention to. The young man, and now I can't think of his name, that played on the East Coast that died real young. He got drafted by the Celtics or something and then died before he even played or something.
Was that not Reggie Theus? Was his name Reggie Theus?
No, it wasn't. But anyway, that was a tragic story also. But that got a lot more play, I think, in the media just because he was an East Coast person, and makes a lot of difference. But
well, let's. We've got 4 obituaries. Dale, why don't you start with the first one there?
Okay. Okay, I saw this for Dale Lorenz, and I saw this in the paper the other day. And Dale Dean Lorenz, 73 years old, of Jesup, Iowa, died Tuesday, December 19, at Unity Point Allen Hospital in Waterloo. And the funeral service was at 11 o'clock Thursday, December 28th, at the First Presbyterian Church. And they had military rites conducted by Pump Shear, American Legion Post 342 of Jesup. And I know, of course, Dale was a veteran, and I think a lot of his problems, he had physical problems for many years, came because of his service with the Navy. He was cremated, and he's going to be interred at Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. That's the big veteran cemetery. If you've ever been there, if you've never been there, you should go. The day we were there, I don't know how many different burials they had, but they have them on military burials for these, and it's just everybody, whether you're a general or a private, you get the same marker. It's all the same. It's just very, very interesting. And I guess the one that's different there is President Kennedy's has the eternal flame that his family paid for. But and at that time, I'm getting away from Dale Lorenz, I'm sorry. But the most visited grave there is Audie Murphy, still after all these years, from World War II. That's what they told us. But I can see where Dale was a big believer in the military and was very proud of his service, so I can see him wanting to be buried there. They had visitation on Wednesday, the 27th at White Funeral Home, and also a Masonic service. Memorials can go to the disabled American veterans. He was born February 8th, 1950 in Cedar Falls. the son of Elmer C. Lorenz and Luella Dellinger Lorenz, graduated from Waterloo West High School with a class of 69. And following graduation, he entered the U.S. Navy and served 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. Following his military service, he worked as a machinist for Deere & Company in Waterloo, was a member of the First Presbyterian Church in Jesup, the United Auto Workers Local 838 in Waterloo, the Independence Masonic Lodge number 87, AF and AM, El Kahir Shrine in Cedar Rapids. So he was involved with lots of groups that try to do good around the world. AMVETS and Disabled American Veterans, and Pumpshire American Legion Post 342 here in Jesup. So he's survived by his wife Betty Lorenz of Jesup and 2 sons, Seth of Jesup and Matt of Raymond, and 3 grandchildren, Mackenzie, Carter, and Grayson. Also 1 sister, Marlene Oliver of Bedford, Wyoming. His parents and 1 daughter-in-law, Jessica Lorenz, preceded him in death, and of course White Funeral Home was in charge of his arrangements. So I remember coaching t-ball with him, and the first practice, and he's showing the kids how to stand, side by, and he's so very gentle, moving the kids around. Then this one kid got in there, and he said, it was his own son, of course, grabbing him and turning him. So he was so nice and gentle with the other kids. We grabbed him, and he was tired of, I don't know, but it was just so interesting. Watch that, yeah, just a real great guy. So why don't you do one, and then I'll come back.
All right. The next one is Lyle H. Bauer. Beloved father, grandfather, and great-grandfather Lyle Harold Bauer of Marion, Iowa, passed away suddenly on Saturday evening, December 23rd, 2023. Funeral services were held Friday, December 29th, 2023 at Zion Lutheran Church Jubilee in rural LaPorte City, with burial at Zion Lutheran Jubilee Cemetery. Military rites will be conducted by Pumpshire American Legion Post 342 of Jesup, Iowa. Another veteran. Visitations were from 5 to 7 Thursday the 28th at White Funeral Home. Lyle was born in Independence, Iowa on February 2nd, 1947, the son of Harold G. Bauer and Bona L. Miller Bauer. He graduated from Jesup High School with a class of 1965. He went on to graduate from Iowa State University with a degree in electrical engineering. In 1970, he also married a longtime sweetheart, Nancy Tunn. Lyle served in the U.S. Air Force as Airman First Class, specializing in avionic instrument systems. While serving in the Air Force, he earned a master's degree in computer science from Syracuse University in New York. After returning home, he worked as a software engineer at Collins Aerospace at Rockwell Collins in Cedar Rapids for several decades, and was recognized for a prestigious award, Engineer of the Year, in 2006. Lyle was known for his kindness, humor, generosity, strong work ethic, and intellect. He was a man who cared deeply and tirelessly for his family and community. He and his wife Nancy opened hearts to love and care for many children over the years, including their own, and for many foster children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. He was a loyal member of St. Andrew's Lutheran Church, Cedar Rapids, since 1977. His loving wife Nancy of Marion, his sister Geraldine Remmers, his children Lori Snyder of Jesup, Joy Bauer of Florence, Kentucky, Matthew Bauer of Independence, Iowa, Christopher Bauer of Marion, Iowa, Tara Carrera Bauer of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Xander Schnickloft and Abigail Cave, Caitlin Smith and Paxton Fredrickson, and his great-grandchildren Addison Young, Jalen Bevins, Manny Merriman, Ezra Ellis, Ezekiel Ellis, Madden Hartman, and Arias Smith. He was preceded in death by his parents, Harold and Bona Bauer, 2 sisters, Maxine Buchensteiner and Barbara Bauer, and 2 granddaughters, Tiffany Schnickleroth and Brianna Tim. Lyle was known best for his corny dad jokes that he enjoyed sharing with everyone, strangers included. One of his favorites went as follows. Upon hearing the amount owed at a store or a restaurant, for example, if the total was $12.22, he would then remark, "Oh, $12.22, what a good year." Another favorite of his was bringing a white bee in a box to church or other event and asking everyone if they'd ever seen a white bee before. After much intrigue and questioning, it was revealed that it wasn't actually a bee, but a small cutout of the letter B.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, so remember our dad by telling a silly joke to a stranger, opening your home to a child in need, and never passing up a dessert, and by honoring the important things in life, which he knew very well were not things but the people we encounter every day. White Funeral Home in Jesup, Iowa was in charge of arrangements.
I hear that. It just kills me. Like in the Air Force, you think of the important job he had, technical job, and went to college and everything, got a degree, and he's an airman first class. I mean, they promote. You can't get promoted till somebody gets out of the way. And the Air Force, people don't leave. And so getting promoted, my brother always said, it was terrible trying to get promoted from that man to that man should have been a general. He should have, I don't know, but it's just amazing to me how slowly the Air Force promotes. They have good food and good lodging and all that other stuff, better than anybody else, but they don't get any rank. So, but holy cow. All right. The second one I have is also another person that I knew quite well, Mary Lou Hoppy. And I did not realize that she had died until Jim showed me this tonight. But Mary Lou Hoppy, 88, of Rochester, Minnesota, and formerly of Jesup, Iowa, died Tuesday, December 26, at Seasons Hospice House in Rochester. And graveside services were on, 2:30 Friday, December 29th, at Zion Lutheran Jubilee Cemetery in rural LaPorte. A celebration of life service will be held 11 a.m. Saturday, December 30th. I guess that's already happened also by the time people hear this. At Hosanna Lutheran Church in Rochester. The family will receive friends from 9:30 a.m. until service time at the church. And, as always, you can do online condolences at White-Mount Hope. Mary Lou was born March 15, 1935 in Storm Lake, Iowa, the daughter of Louis Ottoman and Pauline Litz Ottoman. She graduated from high school in Verena, Iowa, and then attended and graduated from Buena Vista College in Storm Lake. On August 31, 1969, she was united in marriage to Morris Arthur Hoppy at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Newell, Iowa. Mary Lou was a school teacher and first taught in the Aurelia, Iowa school system. She later was a substitute teacher at Jesup Community Schools in Jesup, and for almost 20 years was an assistant teacher at We Care Daycare, hosted by Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Independence. Mary Lou is survived by her husband Maurice of Rochester, Minnesota, one daughter Krista Strum of Rochester, and one son Jason Hoppy of Canal, Fulton, Ohio. 4 grandchildren, Catherine Strum, Lori Strum, Aidan Hoppy, Benjamin Hoppy, and one sister, Donna Buss of Houston, Texas. Her parents and one sister, Shirley Mustard, preceded her in death. And I had Jason in my class, and I knew her daughter very well, as did you. And she suffered me many times, and what a good one. She would work hard at it, and just a wonderful lady. And so she will be missed. I imagine they lived in Rochester because that's where Krista was living. I had not realized that they had moved up there. But wonderful lady, and sorry to see her go.
She, we talked about this before we went on air. She raised some wonderful children.
She really did, yeah. I know Jason was at St. Ambrose when my daughter Joy was down there. They both were in occupational therapy, and then Jason got a degree or a certified occupational therapist, and then he went on to become a medical doctor. Mm-hmm. So good brain, good and nice kid, just a really nice guy. So
the fourth one is Marlis K. Fuller, 80 years old, of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, formerly of Greensboro, Georgia. Passed away peacefully Saturday, December 16th, 2023 at Grand Living at Indian Creek Seniors Living in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Marlis K. Fuller was born May 18th, 1943 to Charles Dalton McAtee and Gladys Olivia McAtee. She graduated from Jesup Community School in 1961. She married William Franklin Fuller on December 29th, 1962. They met in junior high and just knew that it was right from day one. She lived in Iowa City and Bemidji, Minnesota through Bill's college years. Then they moved to Prospect Heights, Illinois, where she continued her education, received a teaching license, and she taught business classes at Township High School, District 211 in Palatine, Illinois. Then received a realtor license in 1987 after retiring to move to Eatonton, Georgia. Marlis truly appreciated her family, friends, and neighbors. She enjoyed painting, golf, pickleball, and traveling. She never backed down from a challenge, from balancing on the Pilates ball with the great nieces and nephews or a round of push-ups at the senior center. She always wore a smile and enjoyed a laugh or two with those around her. Marlis is survived by one brother, Dallas McAtee of Perry, two brothers-in-law, William Hickey and David Saliski, both of Independence, and two sisters-in-law, Sharon McAtee of Jesup and Peggy McAtee of Riverside, Iowa. She was preceded in death by her parents, her husband Bill, two brothers, Harry and Roy McAtee, five sisters, Fern Fenner, Artis Hickey, Hazel Eldridge, Darlene Saliski, and Donna Masteller. Two brothers-in-law, Glenn Fenner and John Eldridge. A celebration of life will be set for later this year. Burial will be at Cedar Crest Cemetery in Jesup, Iowa. White Funeral Home, Jesup, Iowa, is in charge of a...
I was thinking of the man with the dad jokes, and my son-in-law gave me a T-shirt, and he has one also. It has, like you see in factories, it says 0 days since the last dad joke. And you wear that shirt, it was in the summertime, it's a T-shirt, and people will challenge you. You'll say, oh, okay, give me a joke. You have to have something ready to say because they read your shirt, and it's amazing what you can find on T-shirts and how many people actually do read them.
Right.
Maybe they read more of those than they do books and newspapers. I don't know.
They do.
Educating America, one shirt at a time. See?
So Dale, I know you have something for us this week. What do you have for us
Well,
this week?
I have talked before about newspapers and how I think it's a darn shame that newspapers are fading out. And so this is last Sunday Des Moines Register, and a man named, I guess it's a lady, I'm saying Barb Yankee of Clive, wrote a letter to the editor, and she says that newspapers delivered to doorsteps are expected to decline by 1/3 by the end of 2024, according to a study by Axios. And she says, for democracy to survive in the United States, the printed newspaper is imperative. The paper increases civic involvement and knowledge of happenings in the community. Without this involvement and awareness, the community becomes more partisan. And what she suggests you do is, instead of sending money to any political candidate, get a newspaper subscription and read about what those candidates are saying and what they're doing, and get it from several different angles. And I like newspapers because everything is written, and there's a byline. Somebody wrote it, and you can see who wrote it, and you can check up on that person, and you get a lot of different viewpoints of the same thing. And so I thought I'd just go through real quick here with this one. It's like 6 pages. And there's an article in the front page, Iowa can offer a haven to world's refugees. And as you know, there's millions and millions of refugees, and there's going to be millions and millions more. Right now, there's over 110 million people displaced, and they need someplace to go. And they talked about when Robert Ray was governor and welcomed all the people in from Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia that were having problems with the war there. And so that's an article about what Iowa could do, a place for the world's refugees. And then the article down here about Governor Reynolds and the Republicans about how they're prioritizing tax reform, what a great thing that is, and how that's helping the state and helping the people that live in the state, and asking her to keep on with their goal of getting down to like 2.5%. And then right next to it, there's an article about how you can make aviation fuel out of biodegradable products. You don't need oil or things out of the ground, and that just by that one little part of the oil industry, aviation fuel, by cleaning that up, well, how beneficial that would be to the country and also to the world. So then you have the letter to the editor. One is about, I read to you about taking out a newspaper subscription. One is about how they're against Satan being displayed in Des Moines. And then you have another one here. The one article says we need to bring in the refugees, and this article said, do you like our wide open spaces? In the United States, we average about 94 people per square mile. India has 1,300 per square mile, Bangladesh 3,500 people for the square mile, and Haiti like 1,100. And they're saying, do we want to let a lot of people into the state, into the country? So, which is an opposite article to the one that was on the front, and which is always kind of in it, give another viewpoint of it. What are we going to do? The letter after that says we ought to consider letting more legal immigrants into Iowa because we got a lot of jobs that need to be done and there's nobody to do it. And so we ought to have more immigration. And then the last one, which is dear to my heart, was this person has been studying at Grinnell College, and a lot of school districts are cutting out the 15-minute recess for children K through 5 in the morning and in the afternoon. Thinking because of COVID, they got to have more reading time in this. And the student talks about the benefits of having a recess and studies that have been done that prove that kids do better if they have a 15-minute break to run around outside. And so, again, different opinions about some of the same things. Another one is about the state of Iowa is looking to cut down the money given to area education associations. And this person writes a guest column about the good job that AEAs do, and now's not the time to be cutting back on the agencies that provide a lot of special ed help and specialized help for a lot of our students. Article then about secret government settlements. Davenport, they're having a terrible time getting the Davenport City Council to give up any information about different articles. And then the last article on this page about Biden is hostile toward farmers and how he needs to change that around or things are going to go bad for him and this sort of thing. And then real quick is a study, unhoused use funds on food and shelter. People are having pilot programs in different cities in the country where they're giving homeless people $750 a month. And they're able then to use that to find housing and nutrition, and how it's cleaning up the streets, and actually it's a better use of the millions of dollars spent on homeless issues every year. Just by giving these guys the money, they're able to take care of their own problems, find a place to live, a certain percentage of them, and it's actually more beneficial than any other state or federal program where they're trying to spend the money for them instead of letting them spend the money by themselves.
Universal basic income.
Yeah, that sort of thing for the homeless. And then there's a large article here about LGBTQ plus issues prompt United Methodist Church mass exodus, and I go to a Methodist church. There are 30,000 congregations of Methodists in the country, and more than 7,600 of them have voted to leave the Methodist Church as of last week. And the deadline is December 31 this year, and so there actually could be a few more by the time that rolls around. And so a lot of this is problems with people's belief about gay pastors, and whether whether Methodist pastors can marry same-sex couples and this sort of thing. And so the Methodist Church is in a big flux. And then on the back page, they have the key issues that will frame the 2024 presidential race. And then some states where they have a large indigenous population are adding their language, I guess, to road signs. So so this language doesn't die, that people will see things written in their native language. And so, the point is, all the different viewpoints, all the different kinds of things that were written about in this paper, all of them by people, they tell you who they are and where they come from and who they work for and this sort of thing, so you'll understand where they're coming from sometimes. And man, oh man, I think if we want to keep our democracy and keep people informed, we need to read newspapers, and of course, the more people that read newspapers, the more newspapers we'll have, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so I just think that would be so beneficial for our country, because otherwise we're in a dead zone of information. And if you live in Jesup, you know right now what a dead zone we have here as far as local things, because our newspaper is no longer in existence, and how many things go by that people know nothing about because of the lack of a newspaper. So anyway, subscribe to a newspaper, or go in with your neighbor and share, or something like that. But your money would be much better spent there than on sending money to a political candidate who's going to use it in who knows how many different ways that will not benefit anybody, even himself, because of nobody believes him anymore. So, okay, that's what I had today.
Thank you. Yeah. Very good. You talked about using language on street signs. Ireland went through that. It started probably about 90, the late 80s, early 90s. They started putting Gaelic on signs and started teaching Gaelic again in their schools, and brought the language back to their credit. And it is so uncommon, so common for, there's at least one language lost every year in our country.
Yeah,
or in the world.
That's true. Yeah, I suppose that's true.
And it's because people don't write it down. Several native languages are being lost, indigenous languages, I should say.
Yeah.
So I love that idea. But you're right. One of the things that we talked about as this podcast was born, we're live to you, or we're on the air to you from Cowork 591 Studios in downtown Jesup. I always thank Cowork for allowing us to be here and record from here. We're sort of fill the gap for that newspaper, although we are more of an art.
Yeah.
We are more of an art podcast. We try to put out the obituaries. We do library news and city news, but there are more qualified reporters than I am that could be doing a newspaper or even a podcast for us.
Sure. And more in depth than what we can do. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree.
Exactly. Thank you, Dale. That's very
welcome.
good. Don't forget, we are sponsored as always by Jacobson's Fabrication and Repair LLC in Jesup, Iowa. Some of their services that Donnie does out there is CNC milling, CNC turning, one of a kind or production, CNC plasma cutting, 4x8 capability, CNC bending, 3x16 or 5-inch or 5-foot mild steel, heat treatment, build out of production parts, duplicate hard to find parts. When I was out there recently, he was duplicating parts that a company out in the Midwest could not find. He does Autodesk fusion, hydraulic cylinder repair, TIG welding, MIG welding, and on-site welding. Donnie does an amazing job, and Donnie is a great supporter to the Steve Brown Arts Center. We cannot say enough good things about Jacobson's Fabrication and Repair. So this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're coming to you live from Cowork 591 Studios with producer Blake Tempus and co-host Dale Rueber. I'm Jim Gillespie. Dale, we'd like to, you mentioned earlier you'd like to talk to me about some of the successes we had in 2023 and some of the things we have planned in 2024.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that right now?
That would be a good idea.
Why don't we start with some things we did in 2023? Some of our greatest successes this past year. We spent at least 10 days at the Independence Farmers Market, and that doesn't sound like much, but I used it as a chance to get to know other artists and other people from the community. We did several StoryCorps projects from there. it was a wonderful place. I met musicians, I met painters, farmers, and met some unique people. And so we did the Independence Farmers Market. We had the young lady on, Isabel, that talked about having a Jesup Farmers Market. Dale, you were gone in assignment out to Michigan one week when we had Isabel on. But we plan on doing stuff for that farmers market. We had Art in the Park at the Land of Corn Pavilion this year. We had Littleton Free Watermelon Day. We had a youth talent show at the Land of Corn Pavilion, and we showed Mort Donnelly's art in September, celebrating or recognizing Mort being gone for 10 years. We sponsored Jessica Saunders, the incredible classical pianist, out at the Frank Lloyd Wright House at Cedar Rock in Quasqueton. We had Garrett Ficken and his art at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society in November. And then in December, I'm proud to say that Blake and I did our first live podcast from the Jesup Winter Carnival. We learned that we need to do it inside next year.
That's right.
So we will do it. We will do it inside next year. Yeah. And Blake and I already have ideas for that.
That's good. So
yes. So those were some of our successes for 2023.
And I know like storytelling is kind of a lost art, and you had the storytelling. And there wasn't a huge crowd or anything, but I enjoyed it so much hearing the different people that spoke about different things. I thought, and I hope you have that again sometime where maybe we can get more people to come, because it's when people tell a story and add little things to it and this sort of thing, it's a lot of fun. And so I don't know if you have anything like that planned again for this next year, but it'd be nice to have that some night someplace and see if more people would come. Well, now that we've been at it a while, so
and then that is we would like to do that. Other people have mentioned that they really enjoyed that.
And there's some people out there that can tell a good yarn.
Yes.
And you wouldn't need the same people again. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that they get talking and they start telling a story, and pretty soon, it's a lot of fun.
It is. It is. So, our plans for this year, our calendar is coming out.
Getting pretty full, isn't it?
It is.
Looking at it here, so
it is getting fairly full. In January 19th at Allerton Brewery, we're showing Dave Harms, and also as a special added bonus that night, we're showing his grandson's art as well. Dave Harms' art and his grandson's art from 6 till 8.
Okay, and that's in Independence.
Independence,
yeah. Sure.
So that is our event in January right now. In February, we are having an art show at the Jesup Firehouse in association with the Jesup Firemen at their pancake
breakfast.
Okay. February 4th.
That's always very well attended.
That is very well attended. That's why we our plan is to have at least 3 artists there that day.
That would be great.
Then also in February at Winding Creek Meadow, we're going to highlight Kenny Mielhau's art. February 17th from 2 till 4 that day. Kenny, like Mort, is a celebrated Jesup artist.
Yeah, no, some of his stuff is on display over there, because every time I've been there, I've noticed that they have some of his work up.
Yes.
And very nice.
He's incredible.
I knew him a long time. I did not realize he did that sort of thing. So
I can remember going to his house when I was a young teacher and just being amazed by by his art. I can remember going to Mort's house and seeing that.
Yeah.
And I don't have any of I don't have any of Kenny's art. I do have a couple pieces of Mort's art in my house.
Yeah, we have one of those. Yeah.
And it's my intention to buy a piece of Kenny's art here, if I can, here in February.
You have to build on to your house, aren't you?
I'm going to. You're right. I'm running out of corners.
Then we can have a show out there at your gallery.
It is. Why that's another thing we have going. I will tell you about that at the end here.
Okay.
We have two special announcements.
You'll have to take down that big fish on the wall, though, if you're going to go classy artist, Okay.
I will.
All right.
In March 16th, St. Patrick's Day, the Steve Brown Arts Center is going to be involved in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then we are also in association with the Sanity Room in Independence, going to sponsor an Irish band from Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to do that, Dale.
I can see it all over you. Sanity is your thing, isn't it?
It is, or lack thereof. Lack thereof. Thank you.
That's all right. I'm always glad to help.
And you are. The April 14th, we're going to have an artist at the Littleton Chatham Historical Society Pancake Breakfast.
Okay.
And then I'm proud to say a donor recently donated $500 so that we can help Independence purchase a automatic flower pot that waters itself every week.
Oh.
And we are going to donate that to the city. Although they donated to the Steve Brown Arts Center, they asked that we help buy one of those flower pots in Independence. Mm-hmm. And there is another donor that said they would buy the flower pots that the city of Independence has right now and actually help paint them and plant them next year and put in our community.
Okay.
Including in Littleton.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah. So that is on our schedule in May.
I love that. You drive through towns and they got from the lampposts, they have the big pots and the petunias are just spilling out all over and everything. And it looks really nice. And I think it's good for a town to do that sort of thing. So
yes, it is. We were both at a meeting that talked about that, actually, Dale. And I always forget the name of that organization.
Yeah, I do.
that comes in.
Yeah. But they're like a city planning.
Economic development.
Economic development for downtown.
Yeah. And they talked about that, and so a couple other people, along with city engineer Mike Feckheather, started doing that. And
I wonder if they talked to Mr. Polk. We've had him on here before, and he has a little store up here, and he has more signage now and more where you can actually see what's going on in there up now than he did before. And so I wonder if that's part of, if they talked with him when they were there, or he got from, I don't know, but jazzed up the front of his store to let people know what's going on in there. So
he does. I'm so he's such a nice man.
Isn't he though? Yeah.
Then at the end of May, we are going to have a welcome to summer at the Buchanan County Tourism Center. It's located out there on Highway 151 at the railroad.
No, just 150.
Excuse me, 150. Yes.
Yeah, on the north side.
Yeah. And we're going to have a band. We're going to have a food truck. We're going to have an artist out there, and we're going to welcome summer in May.
Okay.
And then in June, we're going to have a giant Jenga challenge at Jesup Farmers Day.
Okay. Do we have insurance? Those big logs they use for those giant Jengas sometimes. I always say if they fall over on somebody, we might lose them or something. But
we will. That's in a. We will for that. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
Then the 27th of July, we're having Littleton Watermelon Day. It's the last Saturday of July. Again, in August, we're having the end of summer at the Buchanan County Tourism Center. Again, we'll have a band and food. We'll have an artist. And then August 15th, down in Land of Corn Pavilion, we're going to have the Youth Talent Show, the 3rd annual, from 12 until 1:30 in association with Lunch in the Park.
Okay.
September 7th, we're going to have an art instruction example in Independence where we bring in an artist and they work right there by the river and paint either the mill or a scene of Independence.
Yeah, that would be great.
In October, we're going to have the Monster Mash, something dealing with Halloween, a fundraiser down at Wolfie's in Quasqueton.
Okay.
And then again, it comes back in November 1st, the Littleton and Chatham Chili Supper. We're going to have an art event there in association with them. And the Jesup Winter Festival comes again in December.
Okay, that's December 7th next year already. They've got that.
That is tentative.
Tentative.
That's tentative. Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I talked to Mike last.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Okay.
So this is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with co-host Dale Rueber and producer Blake Tempus. 2 special announcements we have.
All right.
Well, I already gave one that we are going to that we're going to bring plants and flowers to the street, to Main Street in downtown Jesup.
Yeah.
And Mike is already doing that, a lot of that already.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's our opportunity to do that and bring some of those out in Littleton. That is the first one. The second one, though, is very special to my heart. We're looking at doing a documentary series, either a high school boys or girls basketball team or college men's or women's basketball team that runs the Grinnell men's system in our country. And we are looking at some documentarians right now that have done shows like this before. We are presently, and I've got to go to my phone because I always forget the proper name of it. We're working with Zach Knutson down at Innovative Wealth Management to get people to invest. We're looking for investors right now, and unfortunately, it's not like putting an art show together. You can't call a couple artists and bring them in and set it up. It is, you have to get a school. I was talking with a school out on the Outer Banks out in North Carolina last night, actually.
Oh, is that right?
And you have to have administrative approval along with board approval. You have to have parents' approval.
Sure.
You have to have then you have to have investors. You have to have the documentarian. You have to have at least a crew of 4. Then you have to have a place for them to live.
Yeah.
It sounds real neat. It takes, they said, well, we could start this right now.
Yeah.
It's the year 23, 24, and I said, no, we can't start this right now. Financially, we can't start this right now. And they said, well, we'd love to have you right now. And I said, I know, we'd love to come there right now. I can't. It's not like bringing Blake and Dale out to North Carolina. We need equipment. We need a lot of things, and so I've been working with Zach for almost a year now on this, and it's hard to keep quiet for some. I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Yeah,
but it is. and I'm not convinced that North Carolina is best for us. I think it needs to be someplace closer where we can keep a better eye on it as well.
Blake just told me the University of Tahiti has a nice program that we could go look at. So
we could do that. There you go. So anyhow, that is our plan for would be the season of 24-25.
Okay.
We've got to have a couple more dollars than what Blake and Dale and I have in our wallet right now. So
we've had Fritz Keys on talking about the Veterans Memorial that on the end of 6th Street, the south end there, and I was driving by. They have a nice sign up now with a picture, said "Future Home of," so they're making progress. Cool. But I was driving by there today, and Fritz Keys was out there. It looked like he had a tape measure. That's what I thought, just driving by, that he was out there. Something's going on,
right?
So anyway, we want to keep them. Need some fundraising for that, and that's going to be starting pretty soon, I would imagine. But they want to. The first thing you have to do is figure out what you're going to do and how much it's going to cost you before you go asking for money.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a real good project. I'm looking forward to seeing that completed. Every time you see a little movement out there, you think, well, it's a little baby step, but it's getting closer, and that's what those things take. So, also, Jesup News. Have you noticed the theater, the auditorium that they're building? They have those cranes up there and those big pieces they're putting up, and that's kind of, you look, you see, it's slow progress, but then they put a big chunk there, and that looks, so they are working on that, and the last I heard, they're ahead of schedule on that, of what they had once thought. So, and I still don't have any idea when they think they'll be ready, but it's taking place. You can kind of see how it's all going to look a little bit now, and so.
Well, we're due to have Superintendent Cohagen back on the air again, and we're also due to have the mayor back on the air again.
So I'm sure they know everything we need to know.
That's right.
And the superintendent, he'll know all about the city too by then, won't he? Because if he's on he made it to the council, right?
I believe he did.
I thought he did, and so that'll be interesting too.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be.
So.
So I believe that's what we have for the evening.
Okay.
The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves. Remember, the long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie. Thanks to co-host Dale Rueber as always. And thanks to our producer Blake Tempus and then Kelly C. Haas at Cowork 59 Studios. She allows us to break in every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories. Happy New Year.
Yeah, that's coming up. Yeah.